I'd like to tell you all about my service in the United States Peace Corps. As a young man of 24 years old, I volunteered to serve in the U.S. Peace Corps, which was founded by John F. Kennedy. I enlisted in the agroforestry department and was sent to Senegal, West Africa, a small country in West Africa, in the Sahara Desert. The southern part is jungle, and I was sent into the northern part, which is Sub-Sahara. It has been ravaged by centuries of colonial occupation, environmental degradation, over-farming, overpopulation, and the like. The people I lived with were farmers, subsistence farmers, many of them with no education, formal education, and they spoke a different language than I spoke. I spoke a very small amount of French, but they spoke a language called Wolof, which took me months to even start to learn how to speak that language. So I was sent into a small remote part of the country. I lived in a small grass hut. They sent me out there with a motorcycle, some tree seeds, and a little bit of money, and was expected to do something. After about 6 months or so of learning the Wolof language, 4 to 6 months, I began to assess the needs of the community. I started to reach out to the larger organizations, the UN organizations, the United States Agency for International Development, and other non-governmental organizations. These were the organizations that were very large and had a lot of money. You had to quickly learn in the Peace Corps that you had to work collaboratively with other bigger organizations. They were the ones with the funds, and you had the grassroots ability to get projects done. Generally, I would equate them to governments. Those people would sit in bureaus and air-conditioned rooms and create insane projects or really meaningless projects. And they would actually never incorporate those projects, but they would have lots of paperwork and big reports, and they'd send off back to their bureaus. While we were sent down into the trenches, basically right into the remote parts of the country to live and work alongside the residents and the communities in those regions. They were eager to get our results and claim them as their own, and we were eager to get their resources to help us accomplish our tasks or our projects. As an agroforestry volunteer, I worked on a number of different areas. First and foremost was food production using intensive gardening techniques during a 3-year drought. The drought devastated the crops and left people hungry. And you could see it in the food that we ate every day or didn't eat. We ate sometimes only 1 or 2 meals a day. And that was one aspect, to try to grow food, and then if they had excess from the gardening, they would sell it and could buy material that they needed, like food and other clothing, to supplement their income. The second area I worked with was women's groups gardens. The women were the hardest working segment of the population, as is true in most cultures and in third world countries, developing countries. Very responsible, dedicated to their families, and eager to work hard and raise money, do whatever it took to take care of their children. I reached out to many of the different villages in the region, maybe 15, 16 villages, women's groups. We did, again, intensive gardening, vegetable production. Each person would help enclose a large space, 1 or 2 hectares of space, which is several acres. We would help them install a water basin and run a pipe out to that, and that in turn would allow them to easily grow food in their garden. So it was broken down, everybody had their own area to garden, so that was their own responsibility and their own reward. This worked very well. In addition, I worked with schools, a number of schools in the region, maybe 14 to 16 schools. We would do environmental education techniques, teaching young guys and girls how to protect the growing trees in their fields, to halt desertification. We also taught gardening techniques at all the different schools, so the kids could go back and take up gardening when they graduated from the primary school and secondary school. We also taught students the effects of the environment and helped them understand how that affected their daily lives and their food production and how it affected their families. The other areas I focused on were appropriate wood stoves to cut down on firewood, gathering firewood, which was a direct had a direct impact on the environment. By using appropriate technology, mud and clay stoves, we cut down on their fuel supply by 70 to 80% on average when we installed these systems. In addition, I worked all the way to the north near Mauritania in other satellite villages, helping with schoolwork, gardening work, food production, and also went as far north as the war zone in Mauritania to witness for myself the UN refugee camps. This was a very large growing experience in my life. It was an amazing time. There was a lot of responsibility, and there was lots to learn and lots to teach. I did learn a number of things from the people that I lived with. First and foremost, the generosity that they showed each other was phenomenal. A person's wealth in West Africa, where I lived, was not based on the amount of money they had, or how big their home was, or huts, or how many cattle they had, or horses, or cars. It was based on their friends and how generous they were with the people that lived in their village. Did they give away, say they had a event where they slaughtered a cow for a baptism, did they give a lot of that meat to their friends in the surrounding area or throughout the village? Did they share everything equally, or if not more? If someone asked you, I like that watch on your hand, can I have that? People would actually give it the watch on their arm sometimes. They literally wanted to come across in their culture the person who shared the best and was the most generous was the most highly regarded. Unbelievable. In addition, the way they treated their elders in West Africa was really just a phenomenon to me. They would keep the elders with the family till the day they died. They valued their opinion and treated them with respect. They made sure they had a beautiful hut or home to live in. They wanted for nothing in their older years: food, companionship, discussion. They engaged with the younger children, and they helped raise them as well, and that stimulated their minds as well. Contrast that with what we've seen in our own town in Arundequoit with the senior center.